I'm going to go back. I agree it should have been done in the last 10, 15, 20, 25 years. I've talked to a number of the leaders. We're still talking about it. The funding is the biggest hang-up of how you fund it. And when gasoline prices are at $3.95, $3.99, I think I've seen across the street from the governor's residence, it makes it a little bit difficult to increase anything at the pump. There are certainly some alternatives. One of the things that I am looking at is what's Washington doing? And so far, Washington, the Congress hasn't done anything into freeing up money to come to the states, and that would certainly help us make decisions as to which way to move. Okay.
I mean, they're passing 90-day reauthorization bill in Congress for the transportation bill. I mean, if you defer to them, are you kind of being held hostage? I mean,
well, I think all the states, to a certain extent, not just Pennsylvania, but all the states, are being somewhat held hostage when they continue to do 90-day. I mean, they haven't had a budget. What's the number of months that we've not had a budget for the federal government? The Senate can't reach one. So everybody's being held hostage in that respect. So it's not just Pennsylvania, it's all across. I mean, I've talked to my colleagues across the country, and they're all looking at what are we going to do with transportation.
Is your action going to be predicated on federal action first, or do you reach a point where you just say that?
Well, you kind of reach a point where you say, what are some interim steps that we can take? And I will tell you, well, some members say one thing, other members say something else, too. And the ones who are saying something else aren't necessarily out there talking about this quite a bit. But I have been talking to members.
Corbett, Harrisburg School District right now is facing a $15.8 million budget shortfall as they plan for next year. And it's the third year in a row they've had a double-digit, or I guess an 8-digit deficit. And it's caused them to shutter 5 school buildings and lay off a couple hundred people. I just wanted to ask you, do you have any thoughts in your mind right now about trying to find some money to help the most severely financially distressed school districts like a Harrisburg or I guess Chester Upland's in that category?
Well, I mean, we could go back and talk about the whole funding formula and how it was created and how some schools continue to receive more money even though they have less students. How some school districts, and I think York County, Southern York County is one, that indicates they have a growing population, but they're not receiving the amount of money that they necessarily need. That we have some school districts that are willing to close buildings when they don't have the population, and some school districts that aren't willing to do that. And I think we have to take a look at the whole funding formula. A little hard to do right as we're building the budget out this year, but that is something I think that needs to be done, along with the whole issue on pensions. I will go back and repeat over and over and over again that when our pension contribution in the existing budget year that we're in right now is $1.6 billion, and 4 years from now it's going to be over $4 billion. That is Pac-Man to the budget. It's just eating up more and more of the budget, and we're going to have to deal with that. And while I've been having discussions on transportation with leaders, I've also had some preliminary discussions to see if there's a willingness to address that issue also. And there have been some receptive conversations that we've had with leaders.
But these districts that are in dire emergencies right now, I guess Philadelphia would be in that category too. Just running through the list in my mind. I mean, I'm
surprised you didn't say Chester Upland.
Yeah,
that's the poster child.
Is there any possibility for some direct aid from the state to try to help them deal with their situation?
Yeah, Charles, I don't want to promise anybody anything at this point in time. When we're still looking for the money. We don't know where our revenues are going to end up for this year. And we continue to see school districts across the state have the financial difficulties that they have. We've got to reduce, excuse me, or level out the cost of education at some point in time. Pete?
You endorsed in 2 competitive races this coming up on April 24th, Mr. Perry for Congress and Mr. Welch for U.S. Senate. Both of them are in very tight races, and what are you going to do the last week to help your candidates win?
Well, we've been helping Steve Welsh on the Senate side. He's been doing fundraisers. We've attended some of them. We'll be doing some more like that. I've been talking to county chairs as to what they're doing to make sure that they're getting the support to the endorsed candidate out there. In regard to Mr. Perry, we've been supporting him. He's got to tell us what he needs us to come in and do, but we'll be willing to do it.
What are you hearing with the?
How about Rick Santorum?
Pardon me.
Was that a Freudian slip, Dennis? I would hold my water on that question for a few hours or like 48 hours or something. Okay?
We'll see you tomorrow night, Mike.
No.
When you talk to the county chairman, what are they saying? Because a number of them are telling me they don't think the endorsement is going to mean much for Steve Welch.
Well, I hope they're wrong because that's not what they were telling me. That the county chairman were telling me that I was talking to today, that they're working hard to get him the nomination.
And with those Western Center, because the East appears to be holding up. The chairman.
Well, I'm just telling you, I talk with county chairman. That I keep confidential for the moment.
Right, but other
Okay.
than the East.
Well, there are, 5 members of this race? Okay, so you're going to see the vote split pretty much all over the board.
Do you think we'll for him?
I certainly hope so.
Governor, can you, I don't think we got a chance to ask you about this. Can you offer your reaction to the ESPN piece on the Sandusky scandal and the aftermath at Penn State? And how
There's 2 things. One, Charlie, there's now a gag order out there about Penn State, so I have to be very careful. But I'll put it to you this way. The author's accuracy for facts doesn't come anywhere close to any one of you in this room. Not even close. And at some point in time, I will let everybody know exactly what I think of that article.
Were you surprised that he said that the journal hadn't endorsed? Were you present when the journal endorsed Tom Ridge in '94? I mean, there were a number of this factual things in there.
Well, how about the fact? I'll give you one. How about I resigned 6 days before I was sworn in? Did you read that one in there?
Yeah, I was surprised. I missed that.
Yeah, you all did, because it didn't happen that day.
I was sorry we missed it.
Yeah, it didn't happen that day. It happened about 6 minutes before I was sworn in. I don't remember whether I was there at the time. I know, that Joe did, but I don't remember being there one way or the other.
any other specific things?
There's so many specific things in there, but I think I have to be careful with this gag order right now, because I don't want anybody to say I'm affecting the jury selection. Dennis?
Back to transportation. Are you concerned lawmakers could pass a bill and throw it at you, and then you'd be forced to either accept it or not, like if they get...
I can't be concerned what lawmakers are or not going to do. You take a look at the makeup of the legislature. They may pass something. We'll take a look at it. But, right now, it's easy for people to say they're going to do something. It's harder for them, I've learned, when it comes time to vote on the floor of the House and on the floor of the Senate. Okay, one last question.
Can I just follow up and ask you, could you generalize on how you feel about the characterization of your role in Paterno's dismissal and Spander's dismissal?
It is totally, factually wrong.
Okay.
And if you go and talk to the vice chairman at the time, John Surma, talk to him.
You mean that you're saying that portrayal in that article made you
Not
look like more of a central character?
Not
Or-
even close to the facts. Okay? Don't you think it odd that he mentioned how much we reduced Penn State and made it look like I was after Penn State? He forgot to mention the same reductions went to Pitt, Temple, and Lincoln. I mean, when you start editing your story that way, come on.
The Pennsylvania Business Council and some of the other business groups are starting to get behind some kind of version of Dave Reed's bill, having Dan Muser and the Revenue Department go after companies using the quote-unquote Delaware loophole. Is that something, I know you guys are interested in it, but you moved on from interest on to something more?
Well, I don't have Dave's bill here in front of me right now. I think we do. We've always said through the campaign, I said we need to have better enforcement powers. something more similar to what the federal government has. So, without commenting on the bill itself, be able to go out there and get additional revenue is going to be very important. So we'll take a look at what comes through to us. And we'll weigh in as it's moving along. Okay? Okay, last one. You know my nickname for him, Dennis? Columbo.
Just for the good of the order, just wondered if you've been watching the Democratic AG primary and if you have any comments on what you've been seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dave Freed is going to make a wonderful Attorney General. Okay? You make that comment. I think he forgets what office he's running for. Thank you all.